Hello. So I'm going to throw in a little more scaffolding for our Edinburgh lab right now before we dive in to functions, because that's where we're moving, folks. It's cool. What is happening? Okay. We're just not going to touch the mic because it's working. Kinda. But we are going to close the door. Okay. Woo. Okay. Now let's dive in. Cool. So, Edinburgh College of Art Collection. Here's that extra scaffolding. So let's kind of start. Here is just a really basic snapshot of the first 6 pieces of data. Got the links here, the names and whatnot, but how do we get there? Well, let me show you. So here is, this mouse is just not having it today. All right, so here is a screenshot from the website, and it shows us all the important data that we want to look at right here. We got the name of the artist, the title, the date, period, etc. But let's dive in a little because we can kind of break this down into 2 pieces. One, we got the header. That's an orange, or whatever I correct it to be. It's the brighter one. And here, these will end up being our variable names eventually. So these are the headers across our entire data frame. And the values are a row of that data frame. It's helpful to know where we're going, just so that when you're writing the code, you know, it's not a surprise. All right, so using those headers and values, what we're going to do is move that data from the web. I mean, we're not going to move, we're going to copy it from the web and put it in a data frame. And those headers will become the data column names, and each value will be a row. All right, so your turn. I want you to open up the lab activity or application exercise 9, which is all about connecting art and functions, and then open up the first chunk of our code there and follow along and fill in the blanks kind of as we go. Seems straightforward? Yes? Excellent. I realize that I'm lecturing to an empty room, but we'll pretend that you, the audience, participated and eagerly nodded. If you didn't, I would pause until you feel ready to eagerly nod so we can move forward. You ready? Yeah, no, I tried to freeze frame. I thought it was funny. It probably wasn't very funny. Okay, so here is the giant wall of code that we're going to work with. And I'm going to break down each piece and kind of explain to you what's happening. Okay? Cool. So let's zoom in. So first, we're setting up. And apparently, we don't get a title for this card, for this slide. But it's entitled Setting Up. Very creative, I know. So we're going to load in our packages. We're going to use tidyverse because that has pretty much everything we've been using. The mouse is deciding that it is on a vacation, so that's awesome. And it might not even be picked up, so also awesome. Okay, so it's a hardware thing. Cool, cool, cool. So we're gonna do this by hand. So yeah, so here is our first little piece. We're gonna find the first URL, and that in our case was record 22024. And we are going to read that HTML code and assign it to page. Yep, this should be very similar to last time. So now we're going to scrape those headers. Remember, those headers are the variable names that we will be using. And in our data, which if you go to the website, you'll be able to figure out that the node is th by using selector gadget. So I encourage you to do that, because I will not be showing that here because of how I'm screen capturing, because it won't capture it. Yeah, more on that never. OBS is wonderful, but it struggles when you have two graphics things. So we are stuck using, well, I'm stuck using my imagination, but you should go to that website and poke around and find the right node name. It happens to be. So we're going to assign that to headers. All right. And we're going to do the same thing, but instead we are going to parse out the values. TD, in case that was unclear. And what this does here is it grabs out the information for, well, everything linked to toot. Right, so we're going to smush it together. And I've put a lot of these pieces together here without walking you through the steps as much, because it's a good exercise to see if you can figure out what the intermediate kind of steps and what each piece means on your own, because you won't always have me to guide you through our learning experience. So here is our table, and we are going to smush together headers and values. And we're going to use pivot wider, and we are going to extract names from our headers and values from our values. And then we're going to smack in an extra column called link, which will include the string for our URL. Yeah? Cool. Because that's a wrap for this little section. But the basic idea here is that we are pulling out the information that is useful to us. And doing that, well, at least once here. But you'll see what happens if we wanted to do this for every single one of those 2,909 pieces of art.